Hello from World University and School on Monday, April 20th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 a.m., 1 p.m. Eastern time. And I think it's about 10:30 p.m. or 11:30 p.m. India time with an invitation to join this WUaS news and question and answer on Mondays at 10 a.m. Pacific time as an open conversation, a time for your questions or your answers in this growing of World University and School, building on MIT OpenCourseWare in its current 7 languages, and as we seek to grow into 200 countries as world-class universities and in their official languages for online free degrees and in those countries' main languages again, and potentially also in all 7,159 living languages as for wiki schools, for people to people, wiki teaching and wiki learning for in each of those languages. And as we also grow potentially in a realistic virtual Earth, think Google Street View with Time Slider, Google Maps, Google Earth, Gemini AI, TensorFlow AI, and as STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, field sites, and classrooms too, for students to potentially learn uh, computer science in some ways, AI and ML, in this realistic virtual Earth as it iterates, and a realistic virtual Earth not only at the Google Street View with Time Slider level, but also at the cell view level and the molecular view level, the atom view level, and potentially the qubit view level as well. So, dear World University and School community and networks, universitians all, greetings. The new 501c3 World University and School candid.org profile is here, leaving the old similar GuideStar profile behind with both organizations affiliated with the IRS. And I think GuideStar may no longer exist. So with Candid affiliated with the IRS too, and potentially as World University and School grows as a 501c3 US federal tax exempt legal entity, and for potentially grants and similar. So as you know, World University and School has 2 wings. The first wing is the 501c3 tax exempt nonprofit World University and School wing, and it's comprised of 2 legal entities. 1A, the 501c3 US federal legal entity, and 1B, the state of California tax exempt legal entity. And the other wing, the WS Corporation wing, the WS Academic Press wing, planned in 7,159 living languages with machine translation and machine and human translation, and also WS Educational Services Stores, is a for-profit general stock company legal entity in the state of California, with amazing potential synergies between these 2 wings, since both wings are planned in 200 countries as major world-class research and teaching universities, and in all 7,159 living languages for speakers in these. And as WUaS seeks to code for all 7.9 billion people on the planet, each a Wikidata PIN number, from this URL, you at World University, wiki.worlduniversityandschool.org/wiki/you at World University, which you can potentially edit at this stage also, and teach to potentially. And to facilitate both free universal education and potentially to end poverty worldwide with free education, and by distributing Stanford MindPi cryptocurrency free money daily, which you can get now here on your smartphone every 24 hours at the URL mindpi.com/SGKMAC to say, distributing it to potentially the poorest billion people on the planet. And potentially also as World University and School and maybe the United Nations and all 200 countries' governments get smartphones and electricity and similar to the poorest billion people on the planet. So they too can mine Pi to get free Stanford MindPi cryptocurrency free money daily. So further, in some of these regards, I've added a new signature with the email addresses for one, the president of World University and School, that's currently me, and two, the WUaS CEO. Currently, that's me as well, separately, below to the signature of this email regarding each of World University and School's wings. And might Vivek Singh, with his Columbia University MBA and his Cornell BA in finance, and whom I know from Berkeley, consider becoming the WUaS CEO. So we could separate these two roles of president at World University and School and regarding our first wing, the 501c3 nonprofit wing, and the WUaS CEO, WUaS Corporation CEO, the for-profit general stock company legal entity. There is more, if we develop in these regards, further questions would be, would or could Vivek Singh or similar become also the chief financial officer of the nonprofit wing, which is an interesting potential development regarding World University and School's two wings. There are other interesting recombinings of these two wings with potential executives for these wings at the nonprofit World University and School wing, building on MIT OpenCourseWare in 7 languages, and the for-profit general stock company WUaS Corporation wing, growing potentially with WUaS Educational Services Stores, the academic press at WUaS, and potentially regarding Stanford MindPi cryptocurrency and distributing it to many or most of all 7.9 billion people on the planet. So further, in this email that I sent out last week, and it's posted in both blogs on Monday, April 13th, 2026. World University and School is curious how the state of California's franchise tax board, now that we have successfully, and this is news, filed our statement of information for this nonprofit state of California legal entity just this past week, will grow this or help to grow the World University and School nonprofit state of California wing. Glad to have filed this successfully this past week, this statement of information with the state of California for the World University and School wing, and hoping that World University and School can potentially grow with the for-profit general stock company legal entity wing in the state of California, as we develop in all 200 countries and for speakers of all 7,159 known living languages. I think this could be an unprecedented development. These two wings in the state of California, a nonprofit and a for-profit, and the nonprofit relating to a U.S. federal 501c3 status for World University and School as well. How will these two wings grow together now that we have successfully filed the statement of information for the nonprofit State of California legal entity for World University and School? Uh, and will World University and School, with its candid listing, now, which is affiliated with the IRS, now be able to start seeking grants, for example, and become more functional as 200 world-class universities. So, and on the WS Corporation for-profit wing, its second wing, will WUaS be able to develop with Stanford Mine Pi cryptocurrency initially as a for-profit general stock company in the state of California, and even especially with time, list the WUaS Corporation on a stock exchange, such as the NASDAQ or the Silicon Valley Long-Term Stock Exchange, or further, start with one stock exchange and possibly multi-list on many stock exchanges in many countries, possibly in all 200 countries. So the countries get the benefits, potentially, of the WS Corporation developing with Stanford Mine Pi cryptocurrency as we seek to code for all 7.9 billion people on the planet. And regarding the academic press at WUaS in 7,159 living languages, which is also a key aspect, a cornerstone of the WS Corporation. And with the WS Educational Services stores for books, computers, robotics, hospital technologies, groceries in all 200 countries, potentially using a store within a store model of Walmart's in their 19 out of 200 countries. And how will this WS Corporation for-profit wing, our second wing, work effectively with our State of California tax-exempt World University and School legal entity wing? So further, item F in this WUS agenda and news that I posted last Monday, April 13th, 2026 to both blogs, World University and School.blogspot.com and scott-mccloud.blogspot.com. World University and School's open WS weekly business meeting and Q&A meet on Mondays and next today on April 20th at 9 a.m. Mexico time, 10 a.m. Pacific time. I think it's 1 a.m. Hong Kong time the next day. Please check your time slider, your time converter. I'll also post the recording of this as kind of video minutes for this WS Weekly Business Meeting to our main current YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Scott McCloud World University /videos. So last week's agenda and news were posted with in the blog post beginning Kashmir, Himalaya in both blogs on Monday, April 13th, 2026. If you would like to, if you're watching possibly the video recording of this and want to see the agenda news and this epistle letter as well. So World University and School is growing daily, and blog post by blog post too, and waiting, I think, for now our two wings to start developing together, or for us to World University and School and the WS Corporation to take the next steps with now having filed all the statements of information and the 990 cards and the 199 cards for the U.S. federal government, both wings of WUaS in the state of California, and with candid.org, which supplants, I think, guidestar.org, um, World University and School listing updated. So how also to grow an engaged, and World University and School is also waiting for accreditation opportunities to further develop and for money. So how also to grow an engaged and engaging research and wiki community, and with wiki teachers and wiki learners teaching and learning in these subjects, first in English, but then in 200 countries, main languages, and then among speakers of all 7,159 living languages. How to welcome and support and maybe teach teachers how to teach, say, students in each of all 200 countries, or volunteers, universitians, to wiki teach or wiki learn, or particularly wiki teach and wiki edit at World University and School as we develop our wikis in all 7,159 living languages for speakers of these. And with wiki subjects, you can also add and about what you love to teach potentially. See if there's any MIT OpenCourseWare. Add that to these pages if it's in the languages that these wikis schools will be in all 200 countries, main languages, and in all 7,159 living languages. So in all of this further, and both online and from Canyon 94516 near Berkeley in the San Francisco Bay Area, potentially too. All the best abolitionally, the best STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, Creative Commons licensed, OpenCourseWare Wiki, World Univ and School, WUaS abolition movement continues to grow to protect people. And see the blog posts in both blogs beginning Eagle Akia from October of 2025 regarding the WS abolition movement growing. And in WS seeking to code for all 7.9 billion people on the planet to facilitate wiki free universal education and potentially to end poverty worldwide as well. And yogically, 8 limbs of yoga, friendly NTF, NTQ, Quaker, and Unitarian Universalist church greetings and regards, Scott G.K. McLeod, president at World University and School. The recording will be posted at the main current YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scott McLeod, World University /videos. So agenda item 0, the video minutes for the previous week, which I think was April 6th, are posted. And I'll post these today also, but I think that begins with Kipengera mountain range in Tanzania. I'm going to move out of the sun here. So there, the video minutes of for last week are posted in the blog post beginning Kipengera Range, Tanzania, in both blogs. Check them out from last week, Monday, April 13th, 2026. Agenda item 1, WS growing in India and grad school apps. And regarding Sundar Pichai, the CEO of both Google and Alphabet, recently Twitter posting about Google's Notebook LM, a tablet or laptop platform that works well with AI and that I think is priced very well for potential students around the world to learn from. And in this Twitter post, what was on the screen of the Notebook LM was grad school apps. And it could be a fascinating opportunity for students around the world who are interested in free degrees to develop their careers by studying at World University and School with a Notebook LM by applying through grad school apps to World University and School. And further, in this agenda item 1, regarding a day-long event from MIT OpenCourseWare, from bold idea to global legacy, 25 years of MIT OpenCourseWare. A set of Twitter posts in these regards, and retweeting Sundar Pichai's Notebook LM post with grad school apps on it. How best at free at World Univ and SCH in hashtag Grow with Google WUaS program can hashtag WUaS UNIVS begin to offer free hashtag WUaS grad SCH degrees, PhDs, law, MD, medical doctor, and masters, say in India's 22 scheduled languages initially, possibly starting with hashtag MIT OCW undergrad courses, which you can find at ocw.mit.edu, and with hashtag GTranslate. Is there an opportunity here to develop World University and School, for example, in India with MIT OpenCourseWare and with a Notebook LM from Google? So Sundar Pichai's tweet says, nothing quite like the blank pages of a fresh notebook. For example, like Notebook LM. Notebooks are now rolling out at Gemini app, organize conversations, notes, and other sources related to a single project and easily go back and forth between at Notebook LM to go deeper. Rolling out today, starting with Google AI Ultra Pro Plus subscribers on the web. So again, how best at World University and School in a Grow with Google WUS program can World University and Schools, universities building on MIT OpenCourseWare in 7 languages and see the Wednesday, April 8th, 2026, great from bold idea to global legacy, 25 years of MIT OpenCourseWare video. It's nearly 7 hours long. Begin to offer WS grad school degrees, PhDs, law, medical doctor, and masters, say in India's 22 scheduled languages, and possibly starting with MIT OpenCourseWare, undergrad courses. So can we at World University and School offer grad school degrees, graduate degrees in India for Indian students in all 22 scheduled languages, beginning with MIT OpenCourseWare undergraduate courses, but possibly with MIT OpenCourseWare graduate courses. And can we also possibly begin in besides English, Hindi, Gujarati, and the Tamil language? And see more about this in the blog post beginning Euonymus aquifolium, a flower, in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from April of 2026. Euonymus aquifolium, EUONYMUS, aquifolium. Agenda item 2. Thanks, MIT OpenCourseWare, for the great From Bold Idea to Global Legacy, 25 years of MIT OpenCourseWare live webcast. And from free at World Univ and SCH on Twitter X, building on hashtag CC4 licensed MIT OCW in 7 languages for hashtag free WS degrees online from home in all 200 countries and 7,159 living languages. There were so many ways that World University and School can grow from this. It's this 25-year celebration, which refocuses, I think, MIT OpenCourseware in new, possibly accessible, with Creative Commons for licensing, ways for organizations such as World University and School. Everything from potentially the economics, history, and computer science focuses that this MIT OpenCourseware celebration had with three professors in economics, history, and computer science, to questions of developing MIT OpenCourseware in new ways and in new languages. Stay tuned. So see more about this also in the blog post again, beginning euonymus aquifolium. Further takeaways for WUaS. I seek to add these also to the blog post beginning Solano grass, Tuctoria mucronata, thanks. Agenda item 3, yoga and next steps for World University and School in building out a realistic virtual earth, and for aging reversal genetics and extreme longevity drug therapies, and a WUaS multimedia hospital room in the shop in 670 Ridgecrest Road, Canyon, California, 94516, and with a realistic virtual earth for yoga. Created a set of Twitter posts about this. Next steps at World University and School in building out a realistic virtual earth for aging reversal and extreme longevity, hashtag gene drug therapies, and a hashtag WUS multimedia hospital room in the hashtag Canyon 94516 shop, and with a hashtag realistic virtual earth for yoga. Great. Asked these questions of Gemini in 2 different ways and read the responses. Much of this growing of a realistic virtual earth, I think, would emerge in the Google ecosystem, with WUaS being in a Grow with Google WUS program. So further regarding this yoga agenda item, what are some good reasons to explore doing restorative yoga asana for 80 and 90-year-olds, hashtag 90-year-olds, rather than a movement class in a retirement center for a 90-year-old, or better, to complement a movement class in a retirement center? And see the Gemini AI response about this. And regarding hashtag restorative yoga poses, hashtag chair yoga poses, 2 for 80 and 90-year-olds. For 150-year-old, one aspect, one benefit, I think, is that potentially if we do live beyond 122 years of age with extreme longevity genetic drug therapies and aging reversal genetic drug therapies, and are continuing to move with possibly movement classes and yoga poses to keep our body healthy, to make it stronger, more aware, and more flexible, per the Harvard Medical School book, Guide to Yoga, 8-week program to strength, awareness, and flexibility, is that 150-year-olds and 350-year-olds might be able to continue to do yoga poses on their own, wherever they are. Whereas classes involve having them accessible and being able to go to them. Whereas yoga poses one could do on one's own as one develops an approach to developing, to growing a yoga asana practice. So next steps for World University and School in building out a realistic virtual earth and for aging reversal and genetic extreme longevity drug therapies and a WUaS multimedia hospital room in the shop at Canyon, 94516. And with a realistic virtual earth for yoga, see these Gemini AI responses. Agenda item 3A. What are the next steps for World University and School in building out a realistic virtual earth in Google Street View with time slider and at the G cell view level and the G molecule view levels? And read Peter Norvig's Toolify AI WUaS article, Revolutionizing Education with Machine Learning and AI, updated March 2nd, 2024, where he writes about a realistic virtual earth, The first time that I've heard anyone other than World University and School write about this. And he writes, for example, machine learning and artificial intelligence in a virtual earth. Apart from revolutionizing the field of education, machine learning and artificial intelligence have the potential to reshape our virtual world, this realistic virtual earth idea, which Peter Norvig writes about a little bit earlier in this article. Scientists can collaborate with these technologies to create a realistic virtual earth, complete with street view, cellular, and atomic levels. By integrating scientific research, education, equations, and images into this virtual earth, researchers can further expand our understanding of the world. Machine learning algorithms can aid in populating this virtual universe, making it an immersive and interactive learning environment. So creating a realistic virtual earth. Building a realistic virtual earth requires collaboration between scientists, physicists, chemists, and biologists. Their research, combined with mathematical proofs, ethnographic interpretations, and historical documents, can shape this virtual earth. The process involves mapping scientific knowledge onto the virtual earth, allowing for real-time exploration and discovery. As this virtual earth universe evolves, machine learning and artificial intelligence will play a crucial role in driving its growth. So those are some next steps in building out a realistic virtual earth in Google Street View with time slider and at Google Cell View, at the Google Cell View and Google Molecule View levels, and potentially also for aging reversal genetics and extreme longevity genetic drug therapies, and also for building out a WUaS multimedia hospital room in the shop in 670 Ridgecrest Road, Canyon, California, 94516, and with a realistic virtual earth for yoga and yoga asana. And how further could I also, in this experimentation process of building out a realistic virtual earth for genetics, for example, add my own genes, e.g. through saliva, to my avatar agent electronic health record. So an electronic health record that's developed maybe collaboration with little Google Pegman in Google Street View with time slider as an avatar, integrating all the imaging technology in medicine that is so remarkable, and with AI and ML as the agent for experimenting with human aging reversal and longevity in Google Street View with time slider, with little Pegman becoming our EHR, electronic health record, in GPegman EHR. So how could I add my genes to an avatar agent electronic health record and build out this WUaS multimedia hospital room? Would I begin with for example, 3 smart screen TVs that might create the beginnings of a room or similar to get. And where to get further human cell level data sets that could potentially, in this WUS multimedia hospital room with Google Street View with Time Slider at the cell view and atomic levels, complement the genes that I would add to my electronic health record, my avatar agent electronic health record, possibly in n dimensions at the cell and molecule levels. So where could I get human cell level data sets for the years, for example, 2007, 2012, and 2024, which correspond to the years at the Harbin Hot Springs Gatehouse in Google Street View with Time Slider that one can access, and begin to code these with Google Pegman electronic health records, such that by my adding my genes to my avatar agent electronic health record in Google Street View with Time Slider, and that would be at the molecular view level and possibly cell view level as well, I could then begin to time slide in my electronic health record, with avatar agent developments between, say, 2026 gene samples to 2024 or 2012 or 2007, and then potentially begin to even update human cell and gene data sets from 2007 or 2012 into my Google Pegman Avatar Agent Electronic Health Record, and then potentially upload those into my own body in this brainstorming and envisioning and experimentation with we ourselves beginning to develop approaches to aging reversal and longevity in Google Street View with Time Slider and a WUS multimedia hospital room with Little Pegman becoming our EHR electronic health records. Read more about this in Gemini AI. And further, how will yoga, 8 limbs of yoga and yoga asana, restorative yoga poses, and yoga philosophy help at the Google Cell View level and for aging, reversal, genetics, and extreme longevity drug therapies? And with a WUS multimedia hospital room in the shop in 670 Ridgecrest Road, Canyon 94516, and with a realistic virtual earth for yoga and yoga asana. And how could I add my genes, for example, through my saliva to my avatar agent electronic health record for experimenting with human aging, reversal, and longevity with yoga asana, all via an electronic health record, an avatar agent electronic health record, a Google Pegman avatar agent electronic health record that's also integrated with a realistic virtual earth for yoga and a realistic virtual earth for genetics. More about this in the blog post beginning euonymus aquifolium. Agenda item 4. So yoga explorations at 8 a.m. Pacific time or your time on Saturdays, seeking further to grow these WUS yoga explorations. Read more about this in the blog post beginning Strawberry Bush Euonymus Americanus from April of 2026. And in an email thread with people who are possibly exploring these restorative yoga class opportunities, titled Restorative Yoga Class on Saturdays and As We May Live to 150 and Well Beyond. Glad to learn that my mother, Janie, in this email thread, and Chris Michaels, both in the Western Pennsylvania area, are now taking a movement class twice a week. They're, I think, at their senior retirement center, and both in their 80s or 90s. And might they live to 220 years old with extreme longevity genetic drug therapies emerging, FDA approved, and possibly also by coming into conversation with these restorative yoga explorations in this email thread. So agenda item 4A, again, how will yoga, 8 limbs of yoga and yoga asana, restorative yoga poses, and yoga philosophy help at the Google Cell View level and for aging reversal, genetic and extreme longevity drug therapies, and with a WUaS multimedia hospital room in the shop at 670 Ridgecrest Road? I asked this of Gemini AI, and Gemini AI replied, integrating yoga, its philosophy, and restorative practices into a Google Cell View framework requires a bridge between ancient lifestyle modifications and modern longevity science. By treating the Google Pegman EHR as a dynamic digital twin, you can simulate and observe how these practices influence genetic expression and aging at a molecular level. So I invite you to read what Gemini AI says further, but first section, yoga at the Google Cell View level. Second section, 2, the WUaS Multimedia Hospital Room, 670 Ridgecrest Road, Canyon, California, 94516. 3, adding your genes to the GPEGMAN EHR, electronic health record. And summary of longevity mechanisms. There's a little table with 8 limbs of 8 limbs of yoga, a philosophy, and which may prevent telomere shortening. The table, the yoga element, asanas, physical, cellular and genetic impact, upregulates SIRT-1 and AMPK, longevity outcome, enhanced mitochondrial function. Yoga element, restorative yoga, downregulates NF-KB, inflammation. Longevity outcome reduces systemic inflammation. And yoga element, electronic health record, avatar, cellular genetic impact, simulated drug interaction. Longevity outcome, predictive precision medicine. Gemini concluded, would you like to explore how to specifically code the time slider in a virtual environment to reflect these genetic changes over decades? Great reply. Read the Gemini Google reply in the URL in this WUaS Weekly Business Meeting, WUaS Agenda and News. See also the yoga notations, Hippie Angeli yoga notations on my webpage, website, scottmccloud.com/yoga notations.html, and see the blog post beginning Strawberry Bush, Euonymus americanus, in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from April of 2026. Agenda item 5, how best to teach the yoga yamas in America and in the West. Ahimsa, non-harming, satya, truth, asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, moderation of sexuality, for example, aparigraha, non-graspingness, to teach also yoga and science, and e.g. in Hindu countries. I think there are 2 countries which are primarily Hindu, India and Nepal, and maybe Mauritius as well. And free to students at World Univ and SCH with MIT OCW in 7 languages. in all 22 scheduled languages in India, and in a realistic virtual Earth. Retweeting Sundar Pichai's Twitter X post, nothing quite like the blank pages of a fresh notebook. Read more about this in the blog post beginning Eulaima Orchid Bee in my blog from, I think, April of 2026, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com. Agenda item 6, also in the blog post, Eulaima Orchid Bee. I sit in daily, first thing upon rising. Hashtag friendly NTF silence, non-theist friendly silence. Hashtag Quaker stillness. Hashtag Unitarian time for silence. Hashtag yogic meditation. In hashtag half lotus. Hashtag yoga mudrasana, which is half lotus forward bending. Hashtag psychic union pose. And regarding hashtag 8 limbs of yoga. Read more about this again in the blog post beginning Eulaima Orchid Bee in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from April of 2026. Agenda item 7. Hello, also in the blog post beginning Eulaima Orchid Bee. Hi, Mohit. Nice to meet you. And all the way from Punjab, India. And to learn you're studying for a MBA in Management and Information Science at a university in Oakland, California. Could Mohit potentially try to begin World University and School stores within a stores for outreach in the Punjab area of India in some of these regards? And read more about this of the WUaS growing in India, Northwest India. Read more about this in the blog post beginning Eulaima Orchid Bee. Further, agenda item 8, also in the same blog post, Eulaima Orchid Bee. Does the US federal government do randomized controlled trials, RCTS, clinical trials on pharmaceuticals too, and with vast new data sets and hashtag AI and ML WUaS? I asked this of Gemini, and it said yes, in quite a few ways. And often on, they do clinical trials on pharmaceuticals on drugs that industry and big pharma might not want to spend time doing clinical trials on or spend resources on. This is great. And I think the federal government would be developing remarkable further data sets out of all this. And I think you can see this at clinicaltrials.gov also, which is the federal government's clinical trials website. Possibly access these data sets too for doing RCTS, randomized controlled trials on drugs you might be interested in studying, and which World University and School will seek to avail ourselves of as well, and as we build out a realistic virtual Earth for clinical trials. Read more about this in the blog post beginning Eulaima Orchid Bee further from April of 2026, I think, in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com. Agenda item 9. Thanks. This is a Twitter post and regarding a Stanford Hoover Institute talk with a Taiwan first diplomat, David Taiwei Li, and regarding the Taiwan Relations Act at 47 Thanks, hashtag Dr. David Taiwei Lee, at Larry Diamond, who's a Stanford Hoover Institute faculty member, hashtag Admiral James O. Ellis Jr., JR, for the hashtag Stanford Hoover Institute, the hashtag Taiwan Relations Act at 47. And Twitter posts go further. How will Wiki at World Univ and SCH with hashtag MIT OCW and hashtag WUaS, hashtag free WUaS degrees at Taiwan WUaS with 23 million people. Read about this further in the blog post beginning Taiwan, Playa One, Formasana, and with potentially China WUaS for 1.4 billion people. Help grow the Taiwan Relations Act at 47. Potentially we can do this in a variety of ways, but free universal education, highest quality, building on MIT OpenCourseware in traditional Chinese from people's homes, potentially all 1.4 billion Chinese in China and all 23 million Taiwanese in Taiwan could help grow the Taiwan Relations Act further, which has been a big boon diplomatically over these decades. And read more about this in my blog post beginning Dendrobium linoweanum orchid, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from April 2026, Dendrobium linoweanum orchid. Agenda item 10. Jonathan Chen, MD, who's a Stanford medicine professor and computer scientist, interview with Ewan Ashley. Both are part of Stanford Computational Medicine. Ewan Ashley is a Scott at Stanford Medicine and a professor there. Incredible interview. Fascinating and very smart. Read more about it in the Bird of Paradise Flower Restorative blog post in my blog from April of 2026, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com. Appreciating Stanford Medicine's Jonathan Chen, MD, saying there are bad actors out there, and mentioning Stanford Med's Abraham Verghese around the 50-minute mark, who invited me into his office in the late 2010s after I had met with then Stanford Medicine chair Bob Harrington in his office for about 30 minutes, and who seemed to try to frame me potentially tragically. Later, I think I saw him possibly over by Stanford Law. I'm not sure what was going on, but was there some psychopathic activity? Was Stanford Medicine trying to hide something, like the illegal sex and violence industries, international organized crime? Not sure. So before this, I had met with then chairman of Stanford Medicine, Bob Harrington, MD, in his office for about 30 minutes. And in talking about growing the 200 online world university and medical schools in 200 countries. And does Stanford Medicine's Ewan Ashley or Jonathan Chen, MD, talk about Verghese's eye patient, as in Verghese might be patient in his possible psychopathic pursuits? And was, again, Verghese seeking to conceal Stanford Medicine's involvement in the illegal sex and violence industries internationally, and possibly as a kind of Stanford pimp, tragically? Abolition. World University and School continues to grow an abolition movement to abolish the wrongful buying and selling of people in illegal sex and drugs and violence and car theft and military targeting industries. and in all 200 countries, as World University and School grows and seeks to code for all 7.9 billion people on the planet. And even with electronic health records, avatar agent electronic health records, and potentially for extreme longevity genetic drug therapies, and aging reversal genetic drug therapies as well for all 7.9 billion people, and possibly in collaborating further with Stanford Medicine for World University and School's 200 online medical schools. And please check out this Jonathan Chen, MD interview with you and Ashley at Stanford Computational Medicine on YouTube. A very smart interview by two good Stanford physicians, one is Scott. Set of Twitter posts about this. Thanks for incredible conversation, doctors at Jono101X and Scott at you and Ashley, both their Twitter handles. How best to develop hashtag aging reversal machine at hashtag grow with Google WUAS at World Univ and SCH in hashtag G Street View with hashtag G Time Slider, and add, for example, the 2007 and 2012 and 2024 add Google Cell View and Google Molecule View data sets of humans, possibly to Google Street View with Time Slider at the Harbin Gatehouse for coding AI and ML purposes, and into our hashtag G Pegman EHR electronic health records. And this retweets Twitter post from Jonathan Chen, posting about this interview between Jonathan Chen and you and Ashley. It reads, Stanford Department of Medicine at Stanford Department DEPT-MED on Twitter X. New on the hashtag Future of Medicine at Stan Dome, clinician and AI researcher. Jonathan Chen joins host you and Ashley to explore what happens when AI meets real-world medicine and why the results aren't always what we expect. The title of the talk, the interview is Jonathan Chen on AI in Medicine, Promises, Pitfalls, and Practice from March of 2026. Watch it and read more about it in this blog post beginning Bird of Paradise, Flower, Restorative Yoga, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com, 2026/04/Bird of Paradise, Flower, Restorative. Agenda item 11. Dear, so in a blog post from April 8th, 2026, beginning Brugmansia, Sayovele Elens, Dear Annie Brown, Kathy and Steve Muller, Ma, Janie McLeod, Sandy McLeod, Pin Mazumdar, Byron, Han, Ed Smythe, Alden Briscoe, Peter Norvig, Roland Vogel, Hank Greeley, U.S. Senator and former Harvard Law Professor, Elizabeth Warren, AI readers all, with no further death threats in recent days, thank goodness, and in continuing to grow a worldwide abolition movement in World University and School WUS seeking to code for 7.9 billion people, hoping to grow this more further and successfully, and regarding knocking back, abolishing potentially international organized crime in the San Francisco Bay Area, for example, but also in all 200 countries, as World University and School seeks to build major online universities, and with WS law schools in each of these 200 countries and their main languages. Read more about this in the blog post beginning Brugmansia Suaveolens in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from April of 2026. Moving to the other wing of WUS, the WUS Corporation, the second of two WUS wings, the for-profit general stock company legal entity in the state of California wing, academic press at WUS in 7,159 living languages with machine and human translation, and regarding the WUS educational services stores. Agenda item A. Might Vivek Singh, with his Columbia University MBA and his Cornell BA in finance, and whom I know from Berkeley, consider becoming the WS CEO? And see his LinkedIn profile. And as an active and possibly local WUS CEO? Hi, Vivek, all. Thanks very much for your emails in this restorative yoga thread. And as we may live to 150 years old and well beyond, I enjoyed your father's Ajit's talk, Ajit Singh, on India, past, present, and future. Ajit, as Vivek writes about his father, was also an amazing business mentor to me and to so many who, both inside and outside corporate boardrooms, learned from him and grew to love him. Ajit came from a family that fell under the spell of Gandhiji, um, Gandhi, only to find itself at the center of a movement that quickly transcended all else, India's independence movement. Glad to have heard from Vivek, and I take this that from this that he might be interested in becoming the CEO of World University and School, and that he has a focus potentially, thanks to his great father. Watch the interview, which you can see in this online, regarding India's independence movement as well, and with reference possibly or with regards to World University and School as well. So further, when I think of Free to Students World University and School, building on MIT OpenCourseWare in 7 languages, and the WS Corporation growing in all 200 countries, and it's potentially living to 150 years old and well beyond, I wonder how best for WUS to even develop with kinds of yoga and Hindu and Friends Quaker approaches, and with Western academic business analytical thinking, and now information technologies. And in WUS also seeking to code for speakers of all 7,159 living languages, for open wiki schools, and to code for all 7.9 billion people on the planet, and to facilitate free universal education and possibly to end poverty too, by distributing Stanford MindPi cryptocurrency, free money daily, which you can get from mindpi.com/SGKMAC, to most of the people on the planet. How best can WUS hire and employ further 2.5 million people, slightly bigger than Walmart, over the next 50 to 100 years, the majority working around 10 hours per week, and on both of World University and Schools wings, so in 200 countries and for speakers, among speakers of 7,159 living languages. Would Vivek begin to use the WS CEO email address in some of this, which I've added to as a new signature below? And see the blog post beginning Trilodyum Govanianum in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com, from April of 2028. Agenda item B. So glad 2 of my hashtag books of poetry are now available at hashtag Pegasus Books Solano, 1855 Solana Avenue, Berkeley, California. The first one's title is Light, Float, Sit, Watsu, Virtually. And the second is titled Winding Road Rainbow, Harbin, Wandering, and the Poetry of Loving Bliss, where rainbow refers to the rainbow gathering. Created a set of Twitter posts about this, retweeted a picture of my books in the Pegasus Books store on Solano, and seeing how this first getting of the WS Press books into a physical bookstore will develop and grow. And as WS seeks to create bookstores, physical digital bookstores, part of their WS Educational Services stores in all 200 countries and in their main languages. Read more about this in my blog post beginning Dendrobium Linoianum orchid, from April of 2026. Got an email from someone, agenda item C, regarding keyboard ranking spec for my first book, Naked Harbin Ethnography, Hippies, Warm Pools, Counterculture, Clothing Optionality, and Virtual Harbin, Hot Springs. And thanks for your email inquiry. This person was wondering if we could develop Naked Harbin Ethnography further, having done some analysis with some software applications that she had. And I replied, no, not at this point. World University and School is seeking to write a second Harbin, the WS Press is seeking to publish a second Harbin Hot Springs ethnographic book, potentially from Google Street View with Time Slider, coming into conversation with this one. Wondering how we can do that. So the WS Press is going to not proceed with Elizabeth Brady's offer to develop, I think, Naked Harbin Ethnography with her software analysis and in new ways. World University and School may also develop a second edition of Naked Harbin Ethnography as World University and School publishes the second Harbin ethnographic book project from Google Street View with Time Slider, both to paper and to new digital formats, such as a WS multimedia room. Agenda item C2, my email to Elizabeth Brady about this. All of this in the blog post beginning Brugmansia Siovalens, in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from April of 2026. And that's the WS News and Question and Answer for today. April 20th, 2026, Monday. I'll post the recording of this to the WS News and Question and to the current YouTube channel for WUS, youtube.com /Scott McCloud World University, and to our main Twitter X posts, twitter.com /WORLD UNIVANDSCH and twitter.com /WUAS Press, as well as to the blog posts for today, Monday, April 20th, 2026, using last Monday's agenda and news from April 13th, 2026. I'll also post this to our main LinkedIn profiles, and see how also in this whole process of developing World University and School with WS Weekly Business Meeting, how AI and ML begin to further help World University and School grow as we continue with these WS Weekly Business Meetings and with these agenda and news and a question and answer open, free online, Mondays at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So until next Monday, April 27th, at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, I think 1 or 2 in the morning Hong Kong time. And I'll post the recordings of these to our main YouTube channel presently. Looking forward to coming into conversation with you in a variety of ways through the internet, whether it be through email or postings to Twitter X or LinkedIn. And until next week, bye for now, and see you soon. Email address, World University and School at gmail.com is one. See you next week. Bye for now.